Hi, this is Shamel Lane with Scrapbook Remix, and I'm here with the papers that you'll see in prompt 4. So this video comes after you should have done the Spot Your Style worksheet on your cute factor and before the prompt 4 with the page making video as well. So essentially prompt 4 has a before and an after video because this time I wanted to be able to show you all of the page kits and the choices that I made for each of the 4 layouts before you have a look at the 4 finished projects. So this time we're looking at Country Picnic from Pebbles as the featured collection, and it's a 2-color collection. It's very much pink and green. There are shades of pink, mostly just one shade of green, but definitely as you look at the collection it's pink and green. There's also some craft paper in the mix, so some of the designs are on white and some are on craft cardstock, but lots of pink and green. So this time I have, I'm starting with these 2 in the first page kit. This one is just a solid on the back because it's an embossed pattern with the scallop designs, and then this one has the green and white check on one side and this pink doily on the other. Now these 2 for my first kit, I then wanted to look at what are my options for how cute things can be. And I know in the worksheet you may have gotten the idea that I'm using the word cute to an extreme, and that's because I come to realize in scrapbooking, and scrapbooking has this reputation for being a very cutesy craft. And at first I really rebelled against that once I realized it, and then I've come to the conclusion over the years that there's an acceptable amount of cute for each of us, and some of us will really like very cutesy things, cartoony things, little pictures of people and animals with faces and lovely little very cutesy cartoony type things. And then there are people who would never touch anything that has a heart or a daisy or anything like that because they think that's too cute. And I lay somewhere in the middle. I certainly like hearts and butterflies and simple shapes like that, but I'm not. I don't think I've ever done a page with Minnie Mouse. I've probably used a little bit of Hello Kitty here and there. But here we go. So in the first page kit, I'm using these 2 from Country Picnic, and I wanted to put it with a glittery polka dot, which is from Doodlebug. So I have these 3, so I have 2 single colored prints and 1 multicolored print that bring it together. So that's a really easy choice. And then I can decide, do I want to go cute or do I want to go more sophisticated? So this is a piece from my scrap basket that I've used on several different layouts, and I just really like the simplicity of the hearts in the circles. It is a cutesy print, but it does work. What I would probably do is choose a piece that doesn't have a turquoise heart in it because I want to go with the green, and the turquoise goes against the green a little bit. But if I use this section, and even with the yellow hearts and the purple hearts, they don't really jump out at your eye as much as the turquoise. So any other part would be okay. But if I chose this paper, I am going down the cutesy path. So I got out some embellishments and realized how different my layout could be with whether I chose the cutesy elements or if I went with something a bit more sophisticated. So I was thinking with the pink and green, I have some pink and green wedding photographs, so I could go with a sort of love wedding theme. And I'm going to try and order these with the embellishments from kind of most sophisticated to most cutesy. So I think this journaling card is quite a neutral piece because it is hearts, but there's nothing else. It's just lines with a few hearts, very simple. But these are getting a bit more into very cutesy territory. Same thing here. This is still a heart die cut, but this is a bit more grown-up design. And then this die cut went with the same set, but now we don't have any hearts and we have handwriting. There's also this clear heart because if I was going to use a grouping of hearts, I might want some more options. But that could certainly work on anything that was, it wouldn't have to be really cute. But then I have these elements if I wanted to steer clear of all of those elements entirely. And I could go with a much different look. But you'll notice even though these are from 2 separate companies, the more sophisticated elements were on cream. They're on off-white, where the cutesy that I happened to pull out all from my die cut collection, they all happen to be on white rather than cream. So that's kind of just coincidental, but interesting in that I think the white reads as more on the cute factor and the cream reads as a bit more sophisticated, a bit more grown up. So I just wanted to show you those different options where I could use all of these with the cute paper, or I could put almost all of those aside. Maybe just keep that clear heart and work in these cream elements. And in this case, if I'm using so much of the cream-based pattern, I might go with the other side of the green since there's no white in this design, and it becomes a much more sophisticated, less cute. So I think it's just a case of seeing where you fit on that spectrum and knowing, and then when you are purchasing your supplies, you'll be able to make that choice for each page and each purchase. So the next one, I started with this very simple tiny little pink hearts on white from Pebbles, and the back is a pink, peachy pink grid ledger paper. So I had this, but I straight away decided I would go to the cute angle, and I've got cupcakes. Now, this is a Bella Boulevard paper, and the tricky thing here is these are both prints on white, so that means they work together, but if you look, they're both small repeating prints, they're both on a white background. There's not a lot of variety here, so I needed something with a more colored background. So how about an all pink with just a little bit of white dot from Bella Boulevard, and now, especially if I put that in between the two, I have something to break up all that expanse of white. I wanted to bring in the purple a little bit more, so I didn't have a lot of purple pattern paper, and in fact nothing that really was a good match, but I could use the cardstock just as a purple around the edge to bring in that color, and that would be enough. So I've got some purple cardstock, and then a look at different options. Nothing is going to make this kind of paper sophisticated. If I've got this, I might as well embrace the cute. So I had some different options, and I've got daisy die cuts, I've got another cupcake element, I've got some label stickers, and at first I thought I would never use, this is a We Are Memory Keepers versus this is Bella Boulevard. I don't really have more Bella Boulevard pieces with this. I might have some tiny stickers in a bigger sheet that happen to repeat that cupcake, but I don't have chipboard cupcakes or anything else that repeats that design. But actually, when I looked at this and thought about cutting away the bottom of the tag, it's actually not, it could work. It's close enough, and this has dimension while this is a flat paper, so in a grouping with other elements there is the possibility. So I could pull things that might originally strike me as competing and see if they would work together. For the third page, I started with this floral from the Country Picnic Pebbles collection. It's an embossed print, so there's just a solid color on the other side. And my goal here was to figure out how I could dress this one up. Don't go to the cutesy side with this pattern, and see how I could make it a little bit more grown up. So I went to things that didn't have any sort of cuteness to the motif. So I picked up this very pale pink watercolor paper and a green ledger. And I think this makes this a much more serious kit than if I'd put this floral with stripes or polka dots. But they're not solid colors of cardstock either. There's a certain richness you get by having a little bit of pattern, even if it's a very subtle pattern like a line on just a tone-on-tone line, or this looks like watercolor's been sponged over the top of the paper. It's definitely some color that can anchor things by having the heavier, the darker color in contrast to the floral, but then also having a very soft shade that picks up on the lightest shade that's in the pattern paper. And that makes things a little bit more grown up and sophisticated than something that has quite extremes in color, where we have these very cool, bright tones. Here, it's something a bit warmer and softer, and there's certainly a lot of contrast because the pink is much lighter than this, but it's a very soft shade. It's not stark like just a plain white, and much more grown up than something like a multicolored stripe or polka dot. But I do have some options from here. I did pull out a second green sheet that could make this a bit funkier if I wanted something that wasn't so grown up, and that's a chevron. So I could use a green chevron, and if I replaced the ledger with this print, I get a much different look even if I leave that pink as my third option. This is going to be a much more energetic page, while the green ledger paper is a bit more somber and a bit more calm. So two different options there. And so I also had some options with the embellishment. I love little elements like this. This is actually not a scrapbooking product. It's a drinks coaster for you to put your coffee or your glass on. And I found it in a catering shop in Japan, of all places, and they came in big stacks, and I'm down to the last one or two little pink doilies, so I'm desperately trying to find somewhere that sells something similar. But this could work, and depending on what layers you put on top of the doily, could work in either direction, because I could put big cartoony hearts on top of this and then it wouldn't look very dressy at all, but I could put a really lush satin ribbon around it. I could do a little stitching on top of it, and then it becomes a very delicate grown-up embellishment. Could also go a little bit vintage. Other options that I thought of putting with it were a butterfly, but a butterfly in wood veneer, which is a little bit more grown up perhaps than just a sticker kind, or one that looks like a picture of some sort. The wood veneer gives it a little bit more maturity. And then these 3D stickers, which have the same sort of tones and same sort of shape to the flowers, but are a much different style, very ornate in what's there in the design. So a lot of room to dress this up, and even though this paper starts off looking a little cutesy, make a very grown-up and sophisticated page. Sorry to keep repeating the same words, but I feel like I don't want to confuse the matter. I want to make sure that the explanations are clear, so I'm labeling things as either cute or sophisticated. There we go. And then this case, where's my pebbles paper here? I wanted to start with this, which is one of the craft cardstock papers in Country Picnic. So it's just giant pink polka dots on craft cardstock, and the other side is a ledger grid. And this one could go in either direction. Polka dot definitely tends toward the cute, and so I pulled out a few different things to go with this. And that included another polka dot. I wanted to bring in the green, so I grabbed this slightly different polka dot, which is an old Scenic Route B-side from this Laurel collection. But they used to do this circle on a circle in lots of different shades. It's a very easy to use print. And this pink from Crepe Paper, which is a little bit distressed, it's a good match to the pink polka dot. This one is a floral with little diamonds in the middle, so it's quite delicate and a bit, it could definitely go in either direction. Little daisies are quite cute. It's never going to be the extreme of sophistication, but it's also not Minnie Mouse and Hello Kitty. Wanted to bring those colors together, so I found a stripe from City Park, which has both the two shades of pink and the green, so that's a good connection. And then found something a little different that dressed it up entirely. If I can show you all of these together. This is a paper from Keezy Art, which kind of, it's a bit inspired by paint chips and all the different shades of color that you get. And this being very graphically designed, and it's all in French, so when I put it on my page, it's not going to be legible to, it's not going to be there for the meaning of what each of these says. It's just going to be there for the color and the shape of the design. And I thought this dressed it up quite a bit, but then I also had another multicolored print that could work, and it turns everything a completely different way, and that's this multicolored heart. Admittedly, I don't think I would use this as a whole page or strips. I would probably use individual hearts as embellishment, but the colors are all there, so I think it's very possible that this alone, this set could go for a quite graphic and grown-up look, while once I put in the kind of doodly, hand-drawn heart shapes, then it's going more toward the cute, whimsical side. For embellishment, I looked for things in the same colors and found I could go to either side. So I have the little cassette tape and a little quiz with how today I feel, and you fill it in, and some journaling lines that are a bit dotty and doodly, and a little butterfly. And I think this butterfly versus that wood grain butterfly, this one is the one with the polka dots and the layers, is much more cute than the wood veneer. So these all kind of read as quite cute, whimsical embellishments to me. These are a bit more grown up, and I think these go quite well with the graphic paper here. So one that's an old matte print but then printed in monochrome, and one that's just wording on the pink background. And a little badge that could go in either direction. And I think flair you can get away with some graphic designs to make it not look too cute, because it would repeat the circular shape from this pattern paper and could mix with those pieces. So those are the 4 page kits that I pulled together. So this is my pattern paper mix times 4, if you would. So that's where I'm starting, and what I really, really want you to stop and think about, and you can go through and freeze the frame and see all the different elements that are there. Be aware of which elements you would pick, which sorts of things would make it into your album, and even more so, what would go into your album than what you have in your stash, because we all have things in our collections that aren't particularly our style, and it's worth knowing what those items are so that we can set them free and focus on the things that we really do want in our albums. There's absolutely no right or wrong about how cute or how sophisticated and grown up you make your pages, but it's a really important element to be able to look at something and say if it's going to work for you. So have a look of all those 4 page kits, which one is the most like you? Are there elements where you would never have put those things together, or they're exactly how you would have put them together? Different things like that. And then I will see you with part 2 of this video to show you the completed layouts and walk you through one of them from start to finish. I'll see you soon.